Like when I hear someone say, "We only hire good staff," that those words are I would say the worst, because I think and my response always is like, "You make good staff." That's the answer. That's the
Oh,
answer. I always say the same thing. You want to have a good staff member? Make them a good staff. Make them.
hey there, welcome to The Long Game. I'm your host, David Pardo. I'm excited to introduce you to Yitzy Weinberger. Yitzy Weinberger is the founder and CEO of Elite Standard Recruitment. He comes into facilities with his team and takes over their staffing, recruiting, and builds up their hiring engine and their team engine until they are agency-free and beyond. I learned a lot, not just about staffing specific to the industry, but about people building and team building that I think is relevant to really anybody. There's a lot to learn here. So without further ado, very excited to introduce you to Yitzy. What's up, Yitzy? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
This is exciting for me. I don't know if you realize you're like a little bit of celeb in the industry on LinkedIn.
Did not realize.
Sure. Yeah, I know. It's a classic celeb would say that. That's exactly you.
I have my celebrity book on my shelf. How to be a celebrity for dummies,
Right.
Just
Keep your
following
head low. I love it. It's
exactly.
classic. It's classic. No, but
By the way,
really, yeah.
on a separate note, I just have this my thing, World Best Boss. You know what I'm saying?
Look at that. Okay, so we
Yeah.
end up talking about labor management.
It's in
We're
my
talking
head.
about
It's in my
leadership.
head. I'm joking. This is my
Leadership principles.
goals. Yes.
Aspirational. You keep it there as like a little reminder.
I sometimes even look at it. It's like in front of my screen, just to like be the world best boss.
Did you buy it or did the people work for you buy it?
I actually bought it for myself. I'm definitely so
That's
much.
good. I like it. It's good. You're pushing yourself. I respect that. I respect the heck out of it.
But someone did buy it for me, which is it's a joke. But it's fun. Yeah, but someone bought it.
No, but joking aside, you have a great reputation in the space, and we've said that we've like chatted here or there at shows, but never got to like really sit down. And I'm excited to learn from you and learn about what you do and learn about your expertise in the in the industry. It's a very hot part. I mean, the whole healthcare industry is interesting, but obviously myself at Deploy. And most of the listeners are very, very attuned to, constantly aware of the question of labor shortage, labor management, retention.
Yeah, it's a world. It's literally a world, and it's also like it's a scary world because at the end of the day, there's 15,000 homes in the country. And there's again, I don't have the stats in front of me, but there is an official labor shortage, an inherent labor shortage. So
not specific to healthcare. You just mean in general.
I mean, in general, yeah, healthcare also, but
People don't
in
want to work.
general, yeah. I mean, again, the I did see that the hiring, what is it called again? The labor numbers, the unemployment rate has decreased. But to my understanding is that in healthcare, what I've seen is that the amount of jobs that are needed to fill every single nursing home, um, again, the reports that I've seen, I don't have it in front of me, but I remember seeing certain reports how there's inherently a deficit of the amount of jobs that are needed. But that being said, I do believe that every facility has the possibility to become fully staffed. If you're, even if you are located in the middle of nowhere, meaning on top of a mountain, then you take a helicopter, and then you go in the middle of the forest, right? Meaning in the middle of nowhere, I still think it is possible. I do believe that it is possible for facilities like that to become fully staffed. Again, you have to get really, really, really out of the box, right? The more the more your location's closer to an urban area or it's more populated, it's easier to recruit. Obviously, how to stick out, I would say if your facility is located near a lot of people, it just means you also have a lot of competition. So the strategy that you're becoming fully staffed in an area that has 7 other nursing homes in your 10-mile radius is going to be a very different strategy than if you're a nursing facility located in the middle of nowhere.
So I want to hear a lot about strategies, and I love this. But before we jump into how strategies change based on geographic. I just for the people out there who don't
Sure.
know you and don't know your business, where how did you get into this? Like, where did I know you've been in? I think for 15 years. Tell me the story.
So my background is, so I started off in Centers Healthcare. Centers Healthcare is currently the largest New York-based operator. And my job over there was, I started off as workforce management, which meant really looking at the staffing levels, making sure we're not going overstaffed, identifying, helping them with scheduling, helping them balance their master schedules. Many times, certain facilities, let's say their budget for the amount of people that they needed for, let's say, Wednesday, so they needed 4 people. And on this Wednesday, they had 8 people scheduled. Thursday, they had 2 people scheduled. So, balancing a lot of the schedules, helping them, really looking at their labor costs. So that's initially how I started. Then I know, and obviously the idea was to decrease agency, but it really morphed very quickly into how are we telling somebody to decrease agency if we're not involved in the recruitment process? And that's really what the facilities were telling us, that we're having a very difficult time recruiting for this reason or that reason. And I never knew that this is something that I would actually be passionate about or good at until I actually started getting involved in recruitment. And then like, hey, why don't we do this? Let's do that. Going down to these areas, speaking to people from the local community and identifying what really makes them tick. And I really believe every county is different than a different county. So what works in, you know, let's just say Providence, Rhode Island won't work in Kingston, Rhode Island, which is a little out. So what I found out is that each
You
area
have
has
like a
something
very sensitive, like granular knowledge of different parts of Rhode Island.
a little, meaning that's just, I feel like I grew up in Rhode Island, meaning I feel like I learned a ton by spending so many weeks in these different areas and learning that what we're doing in Providence has nothing to do and won't work for the people living in Kingston right now. It's a whole different idea. It's a whole different, you know, thing that we need to do.
Wait, so
So
tell me because that's a very specific example. So I feel like you have specific follow ups. Like, what is the difference
yeah,
between Providence and Poughkeepsie? What was it?
yeah, Kingston. So I would say
Kingston.
what was
Yeah,
interesting is
classic.
in, so I would say in Providence, a lot of the homes they had a very strong union, and the employees believed a lot in the union, and they were real union people. They loved the union. They believed in them. They believed.
My
So
dad was a
what
union
I
member.
found
My granddad was. All right,
exactly, and they
it's in the
love it.
blood.
So
Okay.
you know, what I find is that many companies, they look at the union as, I wouldn't say the word the enemy, but like we're trying to do things, they're not able to accomplish it. And what I learned, I'm really blessed and thanks Centers a lot because they gave me the exposure to, let's say, really great labor attorneys or very smart operators within the system. And I learned, unions also need certain things, but they weren't, for example, they want recognition from the employees that they're the savior, right? And if, as an operator, if you're treating the union as like an adversary or you're going against them, you won't be able to accomplish anything. But for example, what I found in Providence is if we got whatever we wanted, we, so to speak, masked it and said it was like the unions win. Meaning instead of trying to, so to speak, have the operators have the win, let's give it to the union, but let's get what we want. So the
Right.
employees felt like the union's the one that really got them this raise or got them this, you know, gas card or if they're traveling more than 20 miles we'll give X amount reimbursement, right? They thought the union came up with this and like we love the union, right? You guys are great. It really had to do with us, and this way we could recruit better. So understanding how to play the game, so to speak, with the union, that's what I found in Providence, more of a
That's
urban thing. It was more
Providence,
of a
and then
tactic.
Kingston, no union.
Kingston was totally different. The people living there were very, they loved the residents. They liked the rural nature. They weren't looking for the busyness. They wanted that peace. And to them, more of like it was a different tactic, meaning we offered free transportation, which is common, but obviously there's a way to do it that it works. So we brought people in from Providence. But I think really like selling peace of mind to because there are other facilities in Kingston. That's really what got more people. Like, hey, it was a much smaller facility. So smaller facilities are a blessing and a curse. Meaning it's a blessing because you just need to hire 2 people and you're fully staffed. At the same time, if 2 people call out, you're done. You know.
Right.
So so it's very. Like, how do you deal? And we're in healthcare, right? We're not, in the food industry. If somebody doesn't show up for, to make their, let's say in Burger King, right? Or anywhere, if they don't show up for their shift, there is technically someone else that could pitch in. In healthcare, if a nurse doesn't show up, you can't just have like, the maintenance director or the food service director step in. Like, it doesn't work like that.
Training is too
So
specific.
exactly, the training, the licensing, all of that.
Compliance.
So yeah,
Um,
so that it was a little bit of a
you
different
like
strategy in
you like the
Kingston.
bennies. You like negotiating with benefits over the rate competition. Is that like a fair?
Um, I'll tell you the truth. Rates, I don't believe, again, if an operator is the bottom of the barrel, like it's very hard to sell facility. I believe everything has to do with sales, to be honest with you. I think if
Everything
you
is
sell
sales.
your,
You ever read that book,
yeah, if you're selling your
Pinker?
facility, what?
What's his name? Pinker? There's a guy who wrote a book called Selling is Human, and his fundamental contention is that even though the salesman, like the door-to-door salesman that doesn't exist anymore, every job, 90% of jobs are
Yeah,
sales.
yeah. I mean, like I look at recruitment, like all of my recruiters, like we have a daily meeting, we rev them up. They are salespeople. I look for a salesperson. I look for a person that has personality because that's who's selling your facility. Again, who's reaching out to these candidates? Do they sound like they just want to retire, or they're so stressed out because they have to process payroll and six people are in their office, or do they sound excited? Hey, what's going on? Got your resume. We have maybe one spot left. We can get you in today if you come now, or something like that. This is a beautiful facility. We care about our nurse to patient ratio. And then, if you sound like that, if that's how your message looks, your recruitment is going to be better. I find that people like using rates as a punching bag, as, oh, our rates are terrible, our rates aren't competitive, when in reality, if you do a wage analysis, they're super competitive. Actually, the best rates in the area. So to blame rates is not something I ever believe in the onset, at least.
Yeah, so people treat rates as a punching bag, and they like to poo-poo rates, but really the
Yeah,
rates are competitive, and you're saying it's the everything else. It could be the benefits, it could be the presentation, it could be the
right.
like you said, recruiters are salespeople,
Yeah.
whether they
I
recognize it
also
or
believe
not.
if facilities, if you act like the best facilities in the country, that means is the best facilities in the country, are going after each candidate quickly, right? They are following up with them a few times. They are treating their staff well. They're doing staff appreciation on a consistent basis. They meet their staff one-on-one consistently, right? They're constantly getting a survey from the staff. What do they want to hear? What do they want to see? They're engaged with their staff. They treat them nicely. There's a good leadership team. There's a homogenous leadership team. I think if you act like the best facilities in the country and you still can't either hire or you can't keep your employees, then automatically things start being highlighted.
Right.
Off the bat, if you're acting like the best facility, things start getting better.
So this is an issue that I think about a lot because you're helping clients win the game, and we're helping our customers hopefully win the game. You know the old joke about how fast you have to run to outrun a bear?
No, but let's hear it. Let's
Faster
see
than your
something in the
friend,
notes.
faster than the other guy, right? So you don't actually have to run faster
Right,
than the bear. You just have to, right, you have to run faster than the other
right,
guy.
right.
So staffing is really a systemic issue. Meaning today across the country there are more open jobs in healthcare than there are people who are qualified, and we know that there's pipeline issues. We know that the schools aren't actually producing enough nurses to keep up with the growing needs by 20. I don't, you know the stat. Everyone knows it. By 2030, there's going to
Right.
be more Americans, I think, over 65 than under 18. So it's only getting
Yeah,
worse. And my
right.
question is, are we just helping people outrun the other guy, or are there ways to fix the problem? Are things that you're seeing or things that you're doing, participating in, to actually raise all the
Tell you
boats?
the truth, I never like, I mean, you obviously have to deal with the stat. The stat is a stat, and obviously it's coming from a place of knowledge. At the same time, I, I, I never, I mean, I just, how I am, I just never threw in the towel ever, any facility. And as long as you're
That's a stat.
fully,
You never fired a client.
No, meaning I have told clients that, hey, we're trying this, we're trying that, it's not working out. Again, there's different reasons, right? Sometimes
Right.
whether it's, the leadership team is just chasing people away, and that's the only licensed nursing home person in the 30-mile, 50, 80-mile radius. Like they don't, their hands are tied. They have to keep this guy or girl. So that does happen. I mean, it is what it is. This person's gonna be the administrator. So we need someone to be licensed. But just want to talk about the stat for a second. I believe that if each person looks at their own home as this is it, right? We have to become fully staffed. Now, what could we do? So now if you have that mindset, you don't really care about the stat, right? You're going to bring nurses in from somewhere else, whether it's from the Philippines or from a different part of the country. You're going to buy a house. You're going to give them, a barbecue grill outside and give them, meat parties every Wednesday. You're going to do stuff, right? If you need to become fully staffed in your facility, no matter where you're located, you're going to get it done, right? That's what I believe. And that's really what I try to do. If a client signs up with us, something we always like, my team has the same mindset as me, and that is that we are going to, go above and beyond and push the limits, 120% of our strength to help this facility become fully staffed. Now, whether it's you know, getting involved in schools, getting involved in local churches, having the local church, meet at the facility once a month, and this way, because it's in more of a religious area, and exposing the current people to what it's like being in the nursing home, what a great place it is. The last 2 years, new ownership, they're really treating the residents nicely. That opens up the job market to these people that have never thought of going into healthcare. They're like, it's not so bad, you know?
Okay, hold on. That's wild. You've gone,
Yeah.
you said schools and churches. You've actually gone into local, what kind of
We,
schools? Like
meaning
grad schools
So meaning
or high schools?
obviously the CNA school, but also the LPN schools, really introducing the local nursing school, because where are the nurses made? Right, they'll have to go to college. We can't just do it online. I mean, maybe you could, but they have to go to, whether it's a BOCES, whether it's a whatever program they're in. Many of them are just getting their nursing degree. They want to become RNs. Some of them want to, just want to be an LPN. Some of them want to transition to other areas in healthcare, and the nursing license is just part of that. Some of them want to become an MDS coordinator and they just need an RN license. So everybody has different avenues, but at the end of the day, all the nurses are in the schools, are in these colleges. And the more you can get in front of those colleges, create partnerships with those colleges, and make your facility the preferred place to work, you're gonna expose yourself to a consistent flow of nurses. So
Okay, so some of the nurses are in nursing school. Some of the nurses aren't in nursing school yet. So you mentioned like going to the churches and going to places that are not work or like
yeah.
what here is without giving away all the secrets. What
I'm
are
giving
your
away
like out of
everything
the
right now. I
box?
have nothing left.
I
I'm
know.
saying, David, you have
Yeah.
everything. Nothing left.
What's your like crazy? What are some of your crazier moves, crazier partnerships that you're proud of?
I don't know, one, I'd say one thing we did, which I think was pretty creative, is there's however, one facility located in the middle of nowhere. Um, their their facility currently has a very, very strong union in the sense they don't let you touch the rates. No matter what we're doing, no matter what we're trying to do, they don't let us touch the rates in that sense, and their rates are the worst. I don't know if they're trying to get other things out of the operator, but maneuvering around with the rates is not really that possible. So we basically partnered with a fake agency. There's a lot of these, fake agencies, so to speak. And
A fake recruitment agency or staffing
no,
agency?
it's a staffing agency, meaning it's a staffing
Gotcha.
agency that's pretty well priced, meaning it's affordable for the operator to bring in, let's say, this agency over other agencies, because this agency, let's say, doesn't have a recruitment department or doesn't have, an onboarding department. That's something, let's say, my team would assist with, because we are a recruitment company, and we were able to recruit people from different parts of the country through this staffing agency to this facility. I would say that's one of the most creative stuff we've done, and that has been able to bring down, let's say, the agency cost of
Wait, did
150 to
that was
100.
that copacetic with the staffing agency? They were okay with you
So yeah, so they were
hiring?
they were glad because all they really do is they let the employees work under them. So the employee works in essence for the staffing agency. The paycheck comes from the staffing agency. They just don't have a recruitment department. They don't have someone, onboarding people. So what we basically did was we saw that the agency cost was, let's say, $300,000 a month. Um, Working with this staffing agency, we were able to circumvent, I would say, the more expensive agencies that had a really strong, a very strong stronghold on the facility. These other staffing agencies, they were being very tough. They were charging, exorbitant prices per hour. Let's say, I would say that they were charging around $70 to $80 an hour when the industry standard was around 40 or 30. And using this way, we were able to circumvent that. So step one was really just to get staffing stability in the building and make it profitable. Because this operator, I'd say, would have lost this facility if you wouldn't have brought the agency cost down to a more manageable number. Once we brought it to that number, we were actually able to work with the union and show that we don't really need the union because we can become fully staffed with agency. And that really brought the union to the table. Meaning up until now, the union and the agency were a little bit like they all knew each other, but now all of a sudden there's
Uh-huh.
new kids on the block bringing in tons of people. So everybody started getting uneasy. The union didn't have their power anymore because like, we'll just fill this whole facility with agency and it's done. The other agencies were out. The agency cost actually went down, like by I think it was, but by the time we finished this project with the agency, I think it was down to 100,000. But again, it was fake because at the same time, it's labor cost, right? If you hire an in-house employees, those are going to cost you money. It's not free. But the margins that those other agencies were charging this operator were exuberant. And once we did
So
that, yeah.
no, yeah, keep going.
And then once
They,
we did that, then once we were able to touch the rate and actually bring it to a more, I think again, I don't know if the union wanted to include acupuncture or something, just doesn't even make sense for all like they were just trying to get the operator to cover other things that weren't really, I think they just wanted to have a win. Like that's what I was saying earlier. Like the operator wanted to raise the rates. And if it's coming from the operator, the union didn't really bring a win for the staff. So it's like almost like what do we need you for if you're not bringing us the win? Hiring rates, the operator wants to higher rates. So what benefit is the union bringing us? Well, again, once we
you
were able
want
to
that
bring,
question answered?
I'm sorry,
Were they able to walk away with an answer to that question? What the union does?
it's always again, I find it to be more of a mindset. Like there are union people and non-union people. Like I found there's people that believe in the union, they're doing great and stuff like that, and then I find that the younger or the newer staff don't really see the value of the union. I think more seasoned members believe in it and think that it's really the best thing.
You think it's an
Um,
older younger thing, or you think it's a generational thing?
I don't know because I think the generational, I think the younger people on social media, they hear what other people are saying on a much larger volume, and I think they see that. That's why I think staffing agencies at one point was very strong. I think there was this video someone showed me how like this nurse was saying how the staffing agency is the new union. That's what she was saying. She was basically saying how the union is not really doing anything for me. Like they're gonna have union negotiations once a year, and then they're gonna have it again in 3 years from now. As opposed to if I want to raise my rate, I can just go to an agency today. If I don't like it, I go to a different one. Like she was basically saying how the new union is going to agency, and she has a very good point. Um, Again, in that concept. On the flip side, I mean,
Meaning,
obviously,
meaning
yeah,
anyone could just go somewhere else, but with an agency, you're going to have a staff of people who are negotiating
yeah,
your new,
yeah,
improved, exorbitant rates on your behalf.
exactly.
So,
Um,
do people see you walk into Rhode Island? They say there's Yitzy. He's the union boss of union
Nobody
bosses.
knows me. No, nobody
He's the
knows me.
mega. Do
I'm
you
not a
consider yourself a
celebrity.
mega union boss?
No, no, not yet, not yet. Maybe if I get another mug of Mega Union Boss, then I'll start.
We'll see. We'll see how the downloads on this pod goes. So, how often do you work with staffing agencies?
So, I mean, our biggest sell, I'd say right now, the clients that use us, I'd say primarily like the two biggest ones. Again, we work with small groups, we work with very large groups, but the one common denominator is these are facilities that need staff. Now, biggest client, I would say the ones that really come to us are the ones that rely heavily on agency. They want to eliminate agency, and that's how we've been able to eliminate agency in so many facilities consistently, like really, really well. I have a portfolio in St. Louis area where we were able to take around, let's say, 9 buildings agency free. They were on averaging around 130 to $180,000 a building. We've done that numerous times all across the country. So I'd say the biggest is a agency, but many of our clients are new acquisition facilities where the operator is good, but if you buy a group of 3, a group of 6 facilities, and to synchronize the recruitment and retention off the bat is so impactful. Because when there's a new acquisition, usually what happens is there's a ton of uncertainty and people don't know what's going to happen. Are they going to leave? Are they going to fire people? Rumors start spreading that the new operators are going to take away all their PTO or just randomness. And then usually what happens is there's a mass exodus from the new acquisition. Something we pride ourselves, we feel like we're like have a specialty in new acquisition facilities. We know how to transition from the old ownership to the new ownership. We have I'll give you an example, one secret sauce, something that we focus on heavily that we learned the hard way, but we learned it, is that the longer the facilities and the members of the facilities are using the words new ownership or, oh, I'm not sure about the new owners. Those words, the new owners, is like watering the plants of doubt. It's just consistent doubt and anxiousness. And something we do off the bat when we come in is we help the operator like streamline things and we ask them consistently like, what's everybody nervous about? Oh, we're nervous that we're not going to have our PTO roll over like the other company.
Yeah, so one of the things we do with new ownership is we have it boiled down to a science of first 3 weeks, this is what we're doing, and then the week 3 we introduce this. Week 4 we do that. Something I find is we have like after week 3 we like having like a little bit of a town hall meeting and with a new ownership. Let everybody ask their questions. What are they nervous about? And they ask them like, hey, what's your plan? What do you plan on doing? And to hear from the owners or from the operators to say, well, I'll tell you the truth. We've been in this footprint, or my goal is to make this the best facility, the nicest facility. We want to start renovations. Which room should we start with, or even include them in the design, so to speak, and something like that. It just puts everybody at ease. Like they think, oh, are you guys gonna do this or cut staff? And what I find is most people that are buying facilities, it's not a cutting staff play ever. It's a census play. And if it's a census play, you never want to cut staff. So for the staff to hear that we would never cut staff because it's such a hard market to find staff. We would never get rid of you. We love you guys. Like what we want to do is A, take care of you like you've never been taken care of before. We want to make this the best place to work. And by that, we're going to increase our census. You guys are part of that vision. For the staff to hear that, not just the administrator to hear that, and then the administrator dealing with a family member that just came in and is venting to them about something, and there goes the whole motivational speech. As opposed to if it's done to the whole facility, everybody hears that everybody's bought into the vision.
I love that. I hear a lot, by the way, that like just different things. The answer is transparency.
Yeah.
And in terms of like walking towards a barking dog and saying, "What are you afraid of?" I'll tell you whether it's a valid fear or not directly.
Yeah.
It's very powerful.
At the same time, there are always in the facility certain people that identify and take it upon themselves to be the employee advocate, or they make the most noise, when in reality the new people that came in are looking to make this a great place. And what I find is that when we've never scheduled shifts to also include the weekends. That's something we've never done before, right? Okay, and that's why you don't have any staff on the weekends. So we're going to start incorporating a regular schedule of working every other weekend. And then usually those people, there is many times a time period of butting heads. and they do end up leaving. But then that's usually like beautiful for the facility. Like it's just calmer. People are nicer. They're able to recruit people that left start coming back. It's very interesting.
Is this what you meant? This is something you posted on LinkedIn recently. It was a cute post. The secret to being fully staffed,
Yeah,
and it was 3 steps. It was increase your hiring, hire someone every week, don't lose any of them, and that's it.
yeah,
And then someone in the comments said something about I find most facilities overcomplicate the process,
right.
and then they feel like it's
Right.
impossible. So what do you mean by that? Is this what you're talking
Because
about?
I found something very interesting. A client once told me this, and I did it inadvertently. And ever since then, I realized how sensitive you have to be to other people. But I mean, again, in a good way, not a bad way. But these were new operators, and they've never operated in this state, and they were nervous, and they had a lot of agency, and the banks were asking a lot of questions. And at one point, they're like, "Yitzy, what am I doing? The bank is calling me. What are we doing about staffing?" I told him, I just want to say something. I'm like, I've been through this 1,000 times. I see your applicant flow. I see your team. You guys are going to be agency free. It's not a question. Like, I see what's going on, and you have it, and it's going to happen. I met him at a conference like 6 months later, which, by the way, they went agency free in those buildings. He's like, you don't even realize what you did for us in that meeting by telling us that like you've been there and like just trust the process. Like we're making hires every single week. We're not losing anybody, or if we lose someone, it's minimal or it's for a reason. But I said the numbers are in your favor. So he said just hearing that it's possible is huge. And what I believe is that I think so many facilities are stuck for such a long time, having staffing issues, never being fully staffed, rampant in agency, the quality of care. It's the same yo-yo. We get more, we get a few more people, we hire someone, we lose someone. Like it's just the same. And I think A, believing that it's possible, because it is, and B, yeah, it's simple, meaning just hire. What I meant by that post was like some facilities that we work with, we come in, all right, when can you interview? Well, which position? The nurse applicants, the DON reaches out to them because she wants to make sure they are qualified and up to her standard. CNA is the HR or the unit manager, but the unit manager is working per diem because she's trying out a different facility. Everything is in either disarray, there's no organization, there's no, also synchronization. Their interview times are terrible. We're open to interviewing on Tuesdays because that's when we don't do payroll. Tuesdays between 11 and 12, only if it's not a payroll week. Like there's so many barriers to entry. You have to have two reference letters, and we have to get in touch with those references, and they actually have to call us back. So what I find is really looking at your hiring process. Are you hiring every week? If not, why? Why you're not hiring every week? And something I just want to say out there also is that you don't always need to be in a hiring frenzy. Meaning there is going to come a time in life, like we have some clients now, they're just accepting resumes. They're not hiring anybody. They're full. Every shift is full. Their per diem pool is full. They are just accepting resumes overtime is below 3%. It's like unheard of. This facility was at, I would say, $100,000 in agency. So what I believe
Monthly.
is that
Monthly.
monthly, yeah,
And now
insane.
they're not even paying overtime. You have a lot of clients who listen to your best advice. Curious, what is the worst thing you've ever seen a client do?
I mean, the worst thing I've ever seen a client do it was just like the perfect storm. Like, yeah,
We love perfect storms.
what I mean to say is like, every facility has their own way of going around things. Meaning, like, one facility, let's say the administrator is great and he's really friendly and getting people, and let's say the director of nursing really cares about the quality of care, which is good, but she also is not so good with people, right? She doesn't take mediocrity as a possibility. Um, so sometimes that's like a dynamic that doesn't always work out, right? Let's say maybe the director of nursing isn't as good with the people. Let's say the unit manager isn't as good with people. The perfect storm is when everybody's bad, right? We're like, the administrator doesn't leave the office. The director of nursing only wants candidates that have at least 7 years of experience that has been in long-term care. The rates were on the bottom of the barrel. They were in a rural area. HR was waiting to retire. Like she told that to us. Like, I'm waiting till next year where I can get my retirement. Like there was nobody in the facility that was actually invested. I say that's the worst. It's the worst case scenario. Sorry.
No, that's good. Perfect storm was like a word that was only invented like in 1999, I think.
Really?
Actually, about like a real storm. I think it was in the 90s. Is in our lifetimes? Yeah, like an actual storm
Wow.
happened one year. And they described because it was like a mild from this direction, a mild from this direction, and anyway, that's
Like
not
we're sending them candidates. They want us, like as it is, they're just like every person we're sending them is like we either know them or they don't have enough experience. And then even if they do hire them, it takes like 4 weeks to get back to the candidate. Like everything was broken,
everything.
you know?
Um, okay, so you mentioned overtime. You actually posted recently on
Yeah.
LinkedIn on overtime. Good engagement on the post. And it was you just had like a range of reactions from administrators. Everything from
Yeah.
like, why aren't we paying more overtime to oh my god, why are we paying so much overtime? And
Yeah.
all perfectly relatable.
Yeah.
And it's a funny issue where you have like a range of reactions, each of which are perfectly defendable. What are other hot button issues that we haven't yet arrived at the obviously correct position? We just don't know.
The other obvious issues, I mean, I think staff retention these days, everybody knows about, everybody sees how important staff retention is.
Right, it's an obvious issue, but do you have an issue where you don't? It's not an obvious answer. You have a multiple.
So, so I think, again, the way I look at it is the word retention or culture is a very fluffy, foggy. You can't put your finger on it. You can't like how do you say if someone if a facility has a great culture or doesn't? It's very tough. It's hard to pin it down. At the same time, right? If you're doing nothing for your staff, nothing. All you're doing is maybe once in a while doing a tiny little thing, and then you're just wondering why people are not leaving. Like that's also like the onus is on you. Like just do something for your staff. See what they like. Just make a raffle for $25 gift card, or just go to Walmart, buy a $200 TV and raffle it off once a month. Like just do something for your staff, right? So what I find is, I've been blessed to be able to work with the most successful facilities in the country, and even during COVID, these facilities had staff. And what I found was that they weren't they weren't any more special than your go-to facility in Montana and in Minnesota. They weren't. What they were was a team that they crossed their T's and dot their I's, meaning recruitment was done well and retention was done well, no matter what. Meaning if your rates are terrible, what does that have to do with you showing your staff some love? If your rates are terrible or you can't get applicants, what does that have to do with having a kudos program and an employee spotlight? So I find that you know most facilities are like they're not doing the right thing to be responsible because they're blaming the rate or they're blaming other things. Like there are so many things that have nothing to do with the rate. There's so many things that have nothing to do with if you have applicants, you have agency, like who cares? Like show your like yes, I hear we have all that, but be responsible. And it's always a question like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like I need staff to do appreciation, but then if I don't, it's like vice versa. What I always believe is you have to do what's in your hand right now. Right now you have staff. I don't care if you have 7 staff members and the other 13 or 30 are agency. Start with those 7. Show them the love. See why it's great to have them. And then next thing I like doing is identifying a shift that you can go agency free. So most operators go after the hardest shift, 3 to 11, the weekends. Like don't go after the hardest one because nobody's going to stick, right? The second you hire somebody, you bring them to the 311 shift. There's only the agency there. The supervisor is an agency employee, and then you wonder why the person's not staying, as opposed to put them on day shift, put them on night shift. Eliminate agency from one shift fully and go after your easiest agency shift, not your hardest. And once there's a win, once you lock in a win, I find that the others start following suit. Wow. A
You know what
lot.
that means? That sound means we're up to fun questions.
Whoa!
Yeah.
I
We've
thought
gotten
these were
like we've
fun.
gotten the meat, we've gotten the juice, and the rest of this is fun.
This is like the dessert.
This is
Maybe I'll order
dessert.
another
Yeah.
appetizer.
It's Rosh Chodesh tomorrow. Well,
Yeah.
bad opinions. What's the worst opinion and or recommendation
I hate
that
to
you've
say it,
heard
the worst
about staffing?
opinion is that I think is if you say you need, like when I hear someone say, we only hire good staff. That those words are I would say the worst, because I think and my response always is like, you make good staff. That's the answer. That's the
Oh,
answer. I always say the same thing. You want to have a good staff member, make them a good staff. Make them. How do you make them? Train them. Give them stuff. What don't they know? Like not give again. People confuse giving themselves meaning, oh well, I'm on the cart 6 days a week. Being on the cart and doing nothing. You're meaning you're providing the quality of care, but that's nothing for your staff. Train them, treat them. If someone's not happy, have a one-on-one, just like you treat the residents, right? Just like the residents' families. Like treat your staff like they're gold and they'll stay. So
I
that's the
love
worst
it.
opinion. Number one, we only
Okay.
hire good staff members. I believe you have to
Wait, that's
hire
number one.
people
You
that
have you
are.
have you have multiple. We're getting
I don't know. I mean,
the one
we could
free.
keep on.
All right. Well,
Also, next
Perk.
the other worst opinion that I think goes like I keep on saying is to blame certain things and not be responsible and not do the things that you could do. Meaning, if you're saying staffing is a mess, or let's say you're saying that we don't, again, our rates are terrible, right? If you got 13 applicants, why didn't you reach out to them? Our rates are terrible. Okay, we still have people that apply to your job, whether you like it or not. And let's document that. Let's see how many people actually show up to the interview, and let's see how many people reject your rate. And when we have 15 or 10 people that are rejecting the rate outright, then we can go to ownership and we can have a conversation. But if your opinion is that our rates are terrible, but you're getting applicants like it's going out of style, all of a sudden, when another person, so sometimes what I do in that case is I say, okay, Debbie, for Debbie Downer, um, you know, why don't you focus on payroll? Because that's really what your strength is, okay? Which by the way shouldn't be very long payroll. People spend weeks on payroll, and that means you don't have such a good person. Really, shouldn't take weeks. If you have any competent software, anything these days, it should be a day, 2 days. You
That's how
fix
you
the
know.
punches every day.
That's how you fess
That
them
being
up.
said, but I actually do the opposite. I usually tell them, okay, Debbie, please focus on payroll, and we're going to identify someone else that's going to do the hiring and the onboarding. And all of a sudden, we're hiring 5, 6, 7 people a week. Now, Debbie, usually around week 2, we have this mapped out, starts getting very frustrated with all these new people that are there and the punches, and this is not who we hire. We're not used to this climate, or they don't know the way we work. And then usually Debbie ends up becoming either staying in HR in the payroll part, and that's it, and someone else gets promoted. Um, Whatever it is. But yeah, I thought the second worst opinion is blaming things when you can do things today that will help you.
That was a very meaningful bad opinion. I was looking for funny ones, and I got much more than I bargained for. Fun question number 2: most life-changing purchase under $150.
Whoa, big question.
What's your
Honestly,
thing? What's changed your life for not too much
it's
money?
funny. I never believed I would. Two things actually.
I believed
Two
it.
life-changing purchases, both in my office. Ready?
I'm ready. I'm sitting down.
American flag.
Interesting.
I have it in my office. I love it. I love the country. I have so much of what they've done, for everything. And the second thing is a whiteboard.
I love that so much. You're a daily whiteboard user?
I'm an avid whiteboard. I have one that's like my consistent that I'm working on, and then I have like my game plan one where like it's like war room. Like, what's the attack? What's the strategy? What are we doing? Like, let's put everything on the table. Let's revisit everything. That's my two life changing things
Oh,
under
that's so good.
$150.
Great recommendations. All right, number 3, you had a billboard that you knew a million people were going to see.
Wow.
What would you slap on that billboard?
What would I say on that billboard? It's a very good question. I don't know. I think it would be great for people to know that healthcare is a great industry. I mean, as an employee, like healthcare is a great industry to be in. Like it's a very meaningful thing. It's something I tell my recruiters and my team all the time. Like what we're doing. Forget monetarily, we're saving agency and all of that. Like we are affecting thousands of people's lives. I always say, like, if I had a grandparent in a nursing home, I would hope that they use Elite or they have Employ. Because like, I would hope this home is doing everything they can to become fully staffed so that the quality care is at the highest level. You know? So, and like, we're doing real things. There are people that, like, I actually saw this client video. We made like a recruitment video. And like, we're looking at the staff there and like, it really hit home. Like, we recruited those people. Like, there's another 2 CNAs and 3 LPNs in this facility, like, taking care of these residents. Like, they smell better, it's cleaner, the quality of care is better. Like, I've heard this from clients, all because there's more staff in the building. Like, healthcare is thought of this like industry and healthcare, and it's like it's a people industry. It's to be a CNA is a real thing. They're compassionate. They're taking care of real people, and people. This is everybody only has 2 parents. That's it. There's no way to get 3 parents, or I mean, maybe obviously it is, but biologically, you have 2 parents, and many times, like, these are the most important people to you in your life, and if they're being taken care of, well, and we're impacting that, we're changing that, we are the reason for that. So. Motivational speech
Good
of the
billboard. We're going to have to cut it
1045.
down. We're going to add some visuals.
Okay.
I like it, though. And last question is selfish for me. Where do you get your healthcare news, the latest and greatest?
So I get it from 2 places. I get it from like these online forums, but at the same time, like
What's an online, like a Dan's Deals? Like what kind of?
no, like like these McKnights or
Okay.
like these not forums, these like these email
Newsletters.
things. Like I
Yeah.
like reading it, newsletters. At the same time, I really get it from like just boots on the ground. Like just being in a lot of facilities or in touch with a lot of operators. I feel like you also hear, you meet people, whether we service them or not. Like, what's interesting is that once someone's a client, or let's say they move on, they're fully staffed. They either go to the maintenance program, or they even like they graduate, they can bring us into other facilities. But we're always connected. So I have a lot of operators that still speak to me regularly, asking me questions, different strategies, different things. Like, what would I do? And I'm more than glad to help people out. And I feel like that's really like where the information lies. Like, to put together that stat, if things are getting better or worse, is looking at data that was a few months old and things like that, or certain data, as opposed to like boots on the ground in this county, like things are just getting better, is real. But I just wanted to answer another question you had, that you said if inherently, right, like 2030, is there enough people? Like,
Systemic issues.
I don't believe in that. I'll tell you why. Because they're looking at this with the current way things are. Now, the fact is, the more stronger operators that are out there, they're going to want fully staffed buildings. They're going to want fully staffed buildings. The fact that they are going to touch the rate. So that, I feel like that report makes sense if a CNA was making, let's say, $9.75. But if the average CNA, since that report, is making close to $20 an hour, meaning almost on par with the agency, so then, yes, someone does want to become a CNA again, right? They could get the minimum wage of $13 an hour, but rates in the industry has gone up. Meaning, if the rates in the industry for a nurse, for a CNA, does go up, then people are going to want to come back to this industry, right? People are going to start flying back here because it's a great career. It's meaningful. You come in, it's clear. You're getting trained. You could have a career growth. So that's why I don't like looking at these things, because you're not encompassing the wage increase. And if there isn't a wage increase, all these millennials, everybody's complaining they don't like to work, and it's not the same. at the same time, they all need to eat, right? They all need to work, and they do work. So I feel like you can't look at a report
The report's too
if you haven't
fatalistic
seen
and
how high the
static.
rates have gone.
Doesn't
You
account for
know,
change in the
yeah,
industry.
the RNs were making, let's say, I would say I know RNs were making 70 or 60,000. Now many RNs are making 90 to 100,000. So why wouldn't someone want to be an RN? Like, just the opposite. Like, people are going to run to be an RN. Like, RNs are compassionate by nature. You know, it's something that you can do forever. You know, especially now the CMS star rating really looks at your RN coverage. Are in demand. Like, the way I look at it is, if you want a great career, becoming an RN is the right way to go. A lot, so much.
Final mic drop from Yitzy Weinberg. I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us.
Sure.
I'll catch you on the other side.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, and David. Really great schmoozing. Really enjoyed. Have a great